Hey, what's going on, everyone? How you guys doing today? My name is Matt Jarbo. Welcome to the channel. And over the course of the past nearly 3 years, YouTubers have been dealing with what's been known as the adpocalypse, the worst of the worst situation that YouTubers can ask for, considering the fact that YouTube has always been known as broadcast yourself, which means that it takes on all different types, all different kinds, and all these different things. But with the Coppa regulations coming into effect here on January 1st, never mind the YouTube's terms of service change happening in a couple days, that really isn't as big of a deal as many people out there have wanted it to be. I did want to talk a bit today about YouTube as a platform as a whole and just kind of what to expect if you are an edgier content creator. And the reason why is because, well, quite frankly, it may actually be a little bit better for you going into 2020. And I know that sounds weird, but hear me out. So according to YouTube a couple days ago, and I should have covered this then, but I just didn't get around to it. It was Thanksgiving and stuff. It says here that YouTube is opening up ads for edgy videos signals a shift in brand safety sentiment. And that's where that yellow dollar sign has come from. Remember, when Trump got elected, the Wall Street Journal decided that they wanted to go after YouTubers because YouTubers were raking in lots of views and lots of money in 2016 and taking attention away from them. And so they targeted PewDiePie and they misrepresented PewDiePie's jokes as a way to basically kick off the adpocalypse. And so the edgy content scared the brands away. And so for 3 years almost, YouTubers have been living with just much less than they were before because these brands were afraid of getting run against some of these ads. And now YouTube, because of Coppa, is going to have no choice but to dive into and really lean into edgier content as a way to keep things, well, profitable, which should be very interesting for the rest of us. It says here, over the past couple years, YouTube has raised the guardrails around questionable content after a series of high-profile brand snafus. But the advertiser-friendly approach was closely followed by an uproar from its creator community, who vocally complained that their videos had been demonetized, which, I mean, is not entirely true. You still get some money, but it's also not as much as it should be. Now, recently, though, YouTube has been running a test with advertisers who are comfortable appearing next to more edgy content. In her quarterly letter to creators published last week, YouTube CEO Susan Wojcicki said, in its first month, this program resulted in hundreds of thousands of dollars in ads on yellow icon videos, which again is fantastic for those of us who do this as a job. Now, so-called edgy videos are signposted in the creator studio with the yellow sign, indicating that they are not fully demonetized and are eligible for limited advertising. The yellow icon is used to signify that videos that wouldn't receive ad revenue at all because they were only suitable for mature audiences. And as we know from television, which apparently YouTube wants to be television, that they can totally do that. That they can totally run ads on mature content. It's just finding the right advertisers. And so that's kind of where we are here now. Now, it does say here that there are no details for when this test might expand to more advertisers. The move suggests an initial pull down, all the shutter style panic surrounding brand safety may be calming into a question of brand appropriateness instead. Saying here that I think it's a pretty big deal that after the brand safety backlash that we've seen over the past couple of years, we've seen some evidence that the pendulum has kind of swung too far over the advertiser side, says Nicole Perrin, a principal analyst at eMarketer, saying, I think it's nice to see acknowledgement in an attempt to address brand appropriateness. Not every brand has to be family friendly or G-rated. And of course, YouTube declined to offer further comment on Wojcicki's letter because that's quite frankly just YouTube in a damn nutshell, and we all know it. But still, seriously, it basically shows us that the yellow demonetization sign is going to start earning more money in 2020. And that is my honest to God belief. That is my honest to God belief that we're going to get to that point. And I say that not because I'm trying to give people a lot of hope. I know there's a lot of fear surrounding it. I know there's a lot of people out there that are worried, that are looking at some of the law YouTube saying like, you better contact a lawyer and you don't know if you're going to get fined and everything else. And I do feel there's a bit of hyperbole surrounding this. And I've kind of fallen into it myself. And it's not perfect. It's not sunshine and rainbows. We don't know where things are going to fall, but it does kind of seem like YouTube is making a shift towards the more adult, edgier content. And that's going to be what predominantly pushes ad revenue and pushes money for content creators in 2020. Maybe finally getting over the hurdle of the adpocalypse and really hurting creators, because there's that theory that if you happen to get this on your channel or on a video, that YouTube will not put it out in the rankings, that it will not be searched for, it won't get in the advertise or get in the algorithm because it's not seen as commercially viable, even though there's quite frankly no real proof of that outside of a lot of conjecture and a lot of hyperbole, because the way the algorithm operates, we don't know. We don't know how it works per channel. You know what I mean? So like I've had videos do very well with limited ads and videos not do well with full ads. It just depends on where we find ourselves. But really at the end of the day, what we're going to be talking about here is how the FTC views it, because this is what's going to end up being the most important thing to pay attention to. And the FTC did update their guidelines, and YouTube kind of failed to acknowledge this when they put out that whole "is this video made for kids" change from earlier in November. Now it says here, it says the FTC action against YouTube and Google. This is important to know just because of where we find ourselves. It says the lawsuit against YouTube and Google alleged that the company illegally collected personal information from children in violation of Coppa. According to the complaint, the companies collected that information from viewers of child-directed YouTube channels in the forms of persistent identifiers that track users across the internet, but didn't notify parents and get their consent. To settle the case, YouTube and Google agreed to create a mechanism so that channel owners can designate when the videos they upload to YouTube are, to use the words of Coppa, directed to children. The purpose of this requirement is to make sure that both YouTube and the channel owners are complying with the law, and that is fine. Coppa's been around since the 1990s. I do think it needs to be very much reevaluated in how they're approaching YouTube 100%. But this is where we find ourselves right now. And it kind of seems that with YouTube wanting to make the push towards edgier, more adult, mature content, right? And even today they came out and they changed their classification for how they view video game violence. It's going to be viewed the same way as movie violence. And so it's not going to be demonetized like it was feared to be. So they are noticing that they are going to have to change. And this is a good thing. So here's how it applies to channel owners. So how does Coppa apply to channel owners who upload their content to YouTube or other third-party platforms? Because again, it's not just YouTube. People forget that it's not just YouTube. The people say that, we just need to leave YouTube, like go to BitChute. It doesn't matter. BitChute is not exempt, right? They're not exempt. They're also definitely not for kids. You can find some really hateful stuff on there. But anyway, it says here, Coppa applies in the same way it would to if the channel owner had its own website or app. If a channel owner uploads content to a platform like YouTube, the channel might meet the definition of a website or online service covered by Coppa, depending on the nature of the content and the information collected. If the content is directed to children, and if the channel owner or someone on its behalf, for example, an ad network, collects personal information from viewers of that content, for example, through persistent identifier that tracks users to serve an interest-based ads, the channel is covered by Coppa. Once Coppa applies, the operator must provide notice, obtain verifiable parental consent, and meet Coppa's other requirements. For information on how to comply with Coppa, please visit the FTC's page. And so really, they also talk here a little bit about, they go on about more how this all kind of, looks and everything else. And really what they've said also is that there is a difference between child-friendly content and general audience content. And that is something that a lot of people seem to forget. I'm not a lawyer, so clearly take my advice here with an absolute grain of salt. I don't want anyone to think that they're going to, be getting around Coppa or something. As far as I can understand, and this is my take on it. When Coppa is being used as a way to, let's say, what they're more looking for are channels that make content aimed at children, children under the age of 12, that do not designate that it's content aimed at kids. Meaning that, like, let's say, for example, someone makes parody videos of the Paw Patrol, which there's actually a really large market for that here on YouTube. This one guy gets millions and millions and millions of views by just doing, like, playing with Paw Patrol toys and, like, weird stories that he creates from, like, his living room or, like, his pool or something. And he gets millions of views. And something like that is aimed for clearly at kids under the age of 12. He would have to file under Coppa. But a video where you're talking about, let's say, a video game can be enjoyed by a general audience, therefore it wouldn't fall under the same guidelines. Now, if it's like, let's say, Barbie's Dream Castle, right? Or one of those like TV, like video games, the E ratings or whatever, depending on what it is, that could potentially be it. But again, I think it's like, there's going to be some nuance and some subtlety there. It's just going to take a while to find. Machine learning is what's going to hurt a lot of people on YouTube more than the FTC. Really, machine learning is going to end up hurting a lot more people because YouTube is going to overreact rather than what the FTC here is legitimately saying. Now, the FTC does say that you can be fined up to $42,000 per infraction, but like I said, it really has a lot to do with content that is aimed at children under the age of 12. And I think there's going to be a big push to move a lot of that content over to YouTube Kids. And for the first couple years, there's not going to be a lot of money being earned by those channels. They are rumored to lose about 60 to 90% of their income, which that's a big thing for YouTube, especially when these channels, like I said, pull in. You look at someone like Blippi. Blippi will pull in 45 million views in a video. How much money is that? So much money. So much money. And he gets that per video. The dude just rakes in the cash, right? So by doing all that, he's going to lose out on income, and that's going to hurt him. But that's a lot of income that YouTube is not taking their 55% of, right? Or no, they're 45% of what he would earn. That's what they get. So they're going to have to make their change, and they're going to be pushing it towards edgier content because there's a lot more of that that's out there, and there's a lot more of it that can be popularized. So I think in that regard, it's going to be okay for most people out there. Now the next phase that I think is going to happen, and you may not like it, you may not agree with it, but I do think that's going to be the next phase, is that they are going to go after that pesky ad block. And I do think that is going to happen. As YouTube continues to push to mobile devices, which does not have, for the vast majority, ad blocking software, we're going to see them make that particular push on mobile devices. But for PC, ad blocking software is a major problem. And again, if they're losing money because not having kid content, expect them to make a push against the pesky ad block. And I know people out there are going to be real upset about that. And there's definitely going to be script blockers that can get around that. But a lot of people are going to be impacted, and that could also then help certain content creators make some more money. So again, it's one of those weird situations that's going to be kind of interesting to watch play out on YouTube. Anyway, this is just my thoughts on this one. Like the more I learn about Coppa, the more I learn about what it's going to be aimed at or what its intentions are, the less I'm worried for my particular brand of content. But if you are a child-based content creator here on YouTube, you are screwed. At this point, I would find a way to like really try to get your audience to try to fund you directly. Because even though a lot of people, a lot of parents just hand their kids their phones that have a YouTube account that they created, it's that whole express permission thing that's going to screw over a lot of people for a while. And that is, I think, an undeniable truth, and one that is really unfortunate. You know what I mean? It's like at this point, Coppa is going to be high risk, high reward. And because the risk is, if you are lying and you are marking your children aimed content, it's not children friendly content, it's children aimed content, like nursery rhymes and things like that. And you are saying that it's not for kids. So you can get that identifiers and the tracking and the ads, personalized ads. That's where they're going to get you. So if you are in that world, I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. This isn't your fault. Just know that, but I don't know how to solve it. And I really wish I did. Anyway, your thoughts, your opinions, let me know down in the comments below. I will talk to everyone later. Have yourself a fantastic day. If you want to give this video a like, that'd be fantastic. If you want to share it around, that'd be even better. And have yourself a great one, everyone, and peace out.